Yo, welcome back. It's been a while since we've done a video, certainly a comic book video, but like I said in my last video, we're really gonna be focusing on that going forward with a lot of my content. We're up in the production value and so forth. But today we're talking Thor. We gotta talk about Thor. Believe it or not, there are books out there that are being put out that aren't all garbage by way of Marvel. Donny Cates has done a decent run so far with Thor, and I want to highlight that. Donny Cates, I believe, has me blocked on Twitter. That's perfectly fine. I think we all know why. But nonetheless, props where it's due. The book is solid, it's very decent, and it's a believable Thor comic, and that's what we're going to be discussing. Is really, this shows how you handle the first 4 or 5 issues with a book. So let's talk about it. But before we get into that, all right, bro, so you may have seen some commenters on my videos with these cool little badges next to their names. These are my members, or Macs as we call them. The badges change depending on how long you've been a Mac. For as little as 99 cents a month, you can become a Mac and get access to a bunch of cool emotes that you can use during our crazy live streams. There are currently 4 different tiers of memberships, and one even gets you 50% off in the merch store. For more information on becoming a Mac, head over to my YouTube homepage and click the join button near the top of the page. Before we get in really to the meat of what's going on in this series of Thor, this newer series of Thor, we got to talk about the previous ones. They've been handled by way of Jason Aaron, really facilitated almost for the last decade. Really, it's been really facilitated by way of Jason Aaron. So he's the reason why you got a lot of the goofiness, Jane Foster's Thor, and really popping this whole era of Jane Foster, which is very annoying. She's now Valkyrie. We've talked about that plenty of times on this video, so you can go check those out. But man, he started off kind of decent, and I think the mainstream comic book media, they love Jason Aaron's version of Thor. Me, I hate it. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I hate it. So the expectations, I don't even want to say they're low because of Jason Aaron. I'm like, dude, someone has to salvage this. Can Donny Cates do it? Is what I'm thinking, really going into this era of Thor. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Again, this is post Jason Aaron era of Thor. You've seen my videos, I hope. Though mainstream comic media has ranted and raved about Jason Aaron's Thor, I'm of the opinion that it's not that good. Of course, I've said multiple times that Jane Foster's Thor, the fact she becomes Thor, is one of the worst additions. With her being Valkyrie now, she's become one of the more annoying characters in Marvel Comics. It was such an odd direction to take the character altogether and making it canon. But that's a subject for many other videos, some of which I've done. Now let's discuss what's going down in Donny Cates' version of Thor. The way I look at it, this is Thor getting back to the basics, while also giving you a new adventure for Thor. You have to understand that Thor isn't the easiest character to handle because he's so powerful. Rarely are there going to be villains that can, stick toe-to-toe with him. This is why people have gone the route of nerfing him or dealing with him being unworthy, because that makes it easy. But that's lazy to me, considering the disaster of the previous handling of Thor. Cates does, though, a solid job of not nerfing him, yet giving him a rather believable story. Thor is now all-father, worthy again with a new Mjolnir. Go back and read The War of the Realms to really understand how all of this happened. We start this story with Galactus, of all people, crashing into Asgard. These two have a history that really dates far back. Though it wasn't the first time we saw Galactus, it was actually in Thor's comic in his original series that we learned of the true origin of Galactus, understanding he's way more than just the guy that created Silver Surfer. Him being formerly known as Galan and being the last surviving member of his planet, this all took place in Thor's comic. It wasn't until over a decade later we learned more about him and the retcons that were added to make the story much more a dramatic event. Now it's understood that he was actually the last surviving member of the entire multiverse, so the history still exists with the Thor comic nonetheless. The new series of Thor deals with revisiting the Black Winter, which is the name given to the universe-killing plague. I love when the newer comic books actually revisit the old comic books. It really makes you have to pay attention to what's happened previously. But going into the present, when Galactus crashed into Asgard, you can tell that he's visibly sick. He actually crashed into Asgard because he needs Thor's help. The Black Winter is back. In order to gain more information before they go on this little mission, Thor has this meeting with Galactus' previous heralds, such as Silver Surfer, so you get this cool scene with all those guys linking up. Long story short, the idea is that Galactus needs to consume unique powers of 5 planets. And if he does this, he can combat the destruction of the universe and this Black Winter. And by the end of the first issue, Galactus gives Thor powers, becoming the Herald of Thunder. So he has the powers that he already has, and now he has Galactus' little powers that he's given him. This is because Thor is going to go help Galactus on his journey when it comes to these planets. Now, you're probably thinking, well, wouldn't Thor be more of an equal to Galactus as opposed to his Herald? Of course. And that's what this book does a great job of capturing. Though having the additional power, Galactus does not and cannot control Thor. Numerous times throughout the first 4 issues, Thor actually strikes Galactus, reminding him of just that. The two have plenty of conflict with each other. Thor, of course, wants to transport the people of these special planets to Asgard before Galactus really consumes them. Thor maintains his heroism, but also is not without conflict. The cool thing that I love about this book, in this journey, it brings him into conflict with people like Beta Ray Bill and Lady Sif, and she's now replaced her brother as protector of the Bifrost and all see and all hear. Also, this journey isn't perfect, as Thor couldn't save the 5th planet's inhabitants, as Galactus consumed them while they were still on it. So what I really wanted to do was just give you a gist of what's going on in the first 4 or so issues of the current run of Thor, which Donny Cates is writing. The artwork also is really, really cool in this particular book. Again, Thor is very difficult to handle, but this book does a great job of giving you a believable story, connecting the past. Again, the conflict with Beta Ray Bill, Lady Sif, those have some depth to it. It's a believable story. They didn't have to nerf him in order to do that as well, which I love so much because that's the easy thing to do. See, DC does that with Superman a lot, where it's like, okay, he's so powerful that we have to nerf him instead of trying to come up with a complicated, more story that makes sense for that character being as strong as he is. And that's what this book is doing with Thor. That's what it does very well. And that's why I actually recommend the book. And I wanted to point to it because it shows that, look, it can be done. I know this era Marvel, man, it seems like, where's the talent, bro? Like, what in the hell is going on? You have access to all of these characters, and it seems like they're bringing in the subpar talent, or rather the talent isn't able to come up with these creative stories and stories that people like myself certainly want to read. This does a phenomenal job, so big shout out to them for doing that. This is a book that I highly recommend. It's one of the better current runs of Marvel when it comes to the main, not even just the main stories, stories all together. I mean, you kind of got to swim through a bunch of crap in order to find decent books for Marvel these days. But Thor certainly is how you do it, and I wanted to show you guys how you do it for the first 4 or 5 issues. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Like I said, we are upping the quality a bit, and this video is going to be really the first one that's getting this thing going. So please subscribe, please become a member as well, catching us in the streams. We're talking about a lot more entertainment. I apologize, over the last, let's say, year, half year, we've been really, really top heavy on the political thing because of the virus and all sorts of things like that. So I've had to, that's my sort of obligation with being libertarian and such. But we're getting back to this. I know some of you guys want the escapism. That's why we've been doing the gaming. That's why we've been doing the comic book related stuff. And as I've grown, like I mentioned, I gotta up that content. I gotta up the production value. So this is what it's for. So please subscribe, and until next time, y'all be easy. Peace.